Welcome back to For the Love of Humanity, Season 3, Episode 3. I love the number 3. Okay, so last week we talked about the hero's journey, everyday practices of alchemy, and I snuck in there. I'll be honest, I was attempting to keep it at 30 minutes. And not only did I surpass the 30-minute, because I'm recording this through right now it's Spotify, podcasting, previously Anchor FM. And so you get to the 30-minute mark and then you have to hit record with another segment. And so I obviously went through 2 segments and then into a half of another segment. So I went way over, trying to be more concise, but we'll see when I get going. I just get excited. It just comes through and then just feels very relevant. It all feels very relevant. So I'm attempting to get more concise, but who knows? So last episode, alchemy, hero's journey. And then I didn't want to leave without giving you the practical tools that I've been practicing, for quite some time, like years, and then seriously put into a routine that like hasn't felt like an imprisoning routine. It actually feels like the greatest gift to myself. So I'll give you a little rundown. I wake up, I do my breath work right away. I don't leave my bed. I do my breath work right away. Well, I'm still even in that sleepy liminal state because that state is so good for programming, so good for self hypnosis. So as I'm doing my breath work, I'm sometimes affirming, I'm sometimes like just noticing, I'm sometimes pumping and priming gratitude. So like while I'm doing my breath work, like, this feels good. How does my body feel? My body feels good. Wow, this is so nice. Oh, I like this. Look at, oh my goodness. Sometimes I open my eyes and I see the sunrise and I'm like, oh my God, it's so beautiful out there today. Look at the pink in the sky. So I like start to prime myself already feeling good when I'm in that liminal state, because that's when energy transference back and forth from the subconscious is more open. So great time. I'm programming my day. I'm setting my day as I means to go on. So I connect up and I create the latch with my higher self, with my energetic bandwidth frequency that I love the best, that feels really good. And I'm going to tell you, there are days where I wake up and I'm crusty or crunchy or like traumatized from a dream I had, or like just like, what the heck was that? Or just feeling tired from the night before because our dog Lilith has gotten up in the middle of the night, or our cat Honey has been screaming at the door or the window. So like there's a variety of things. But anyway, this breath work brings me back, transmutes energy, calibrates me to a high flying girly, and I just love it. Then I come downstairs, get my lemon water. I drink lemon water every morning. I don't drink coffee anymore. And I go back upstairs and I start doing my journal, and I just free flow write. And as I said in the last episode, sometimes I have so much I want to say. So I have to do quick bullet points of like just words that relate to what I want to get down. And then I go into the beef of it. I usually do 3 pages. Sometimes I do, like if I'm in a rush and I'm like, oh, I want to get going. I got to get going with my day. I'm so excited to get going with the day. I do a page. Sometimes I do like 6 or 7 pages. Usually it's average of 3. Okay, so I do all of this energetic work to prime myself for my day. Sometimes I've talked to people before my journal, and it's like I've gotten so used to like doing a brain dump that whoever the person is that I talk to, if a conversation gets opened up and we keep talking or we start talking, sometimes they get my brain dump instead of my journal getting my brain dump. So I've learned that for their own benefit and for my own benefit, just do the journal first. Do the journal first, get the spinning thoughts on the page, calibrate the energy. And as I said last episode, I always end with so much gratitude. Now, there's a few times where I end with like an open-ended, like, I don't get what this means. Like, what is this? And as I said, I get the epiphany throughout the day. But usually I am in elation. Now, as the day gets moving and I'm interacting and I bump up against things, it's not to say that things don't annoy me or frustrate me or I don't come across challenges. It's to say that if I didn't do those practices, I'm sure I would be even more crusty. And I'm setting myself up every day to feel the way I want to feel, which is more than I did years ago. Years ago, I let the day take me. I let the various things of the day impact me, and I would be destabilized by noon. And so, this is the most loving thing I can do for myself. It's my routine. It has me feeling centered, balanced, and harmonized as I start my day. And I've had different suggestions and journal prompts and all kinds of different things, but I had to find what fit for me. What I'm saying is find your routine that gets you into the vibe. You will know what it is. You might need to change it. You might need to tweak it. It might do it for you for a while. It might not. Stay with it long enough to just see what it does, what it is. And then if it seems like it's something that needs to be tweaked, moved, shifted, substituted, you'll know. But it's a great practice in trusting yourself, getting to know yourself, creating that space inside. It encourages the somatic connection because you're doing something repetitively and you're noticing how you're feeling while you're doing it. So maybe it is journaling for you. Other times I have like the thoughts come out so fast, I have to voice note them. My little hand, my hand can't even write as fast as I want to get the information out. And so sometimes I voice note. So sometimes I do a combination. I'm like writing things. I'm like, oh, hold up. And then I grab my phone and I voice note and then I go back to finishing my journal. And that's how I capture a lot of my ideas because I channel and download a lot of stuff and it would just go whoop out in the wind if I didn't. So the theme for today, now that we're 6 minutes and 40 seconds in, is energetic intelligence, or energy first. And energy first was something I created when I first started Femist. And it was like this little Wednesday night live thing I was doing where I was talking about energy. And I had intentions of making a course. And I have yet to do that, and I might still. But as I said in the first episode, energetic intelligence is going to be so important as we go forward. So important. We have so much information around us. We have so much information to process. Knowing whether the information is authentic or not is going to be a huge thing. As I said, the scammer calls, like scammer, this is the age of scammers. AI, Photoshop, like all of these technologies are allowing for such tremendous things. And also the lines between reality and not is getting a little blurry. And so this is the evolutionary leap. Energetic intelligence, which I feel is hand in hand with intuitive intelligence, hand in hand with emotional intelligence, and like your inner guidance system. Like all of those things are the similar realm, are the same sort of overlapping circles. So it's incredibly important. It's incredibly important. We've been talking about vibes for a very long time. Like since the 70s, we've known about this. It just hasn't had legitimacy and prominence, but you won't survive without it. Dun, dun, dun. Not to be so like straight up cutthroat about it, but honestly, we understand things by the way they feel. We can intuit truth and interpret truth by the way something feels. We suss it out. We sense it, right? We don't, it's hard to label this. We don't have a lexicon to language everything that we can feel energetically. And that's the way it is. It's like trying to put language to the divine, trying to put language to the sheer experience of love. Like we say love, but it has a multiplicity of meaning. And yet the word itself can't capture it, but it's our reference point. So when somebody says love, I know what that means to me and what it feels like for me, but also only given certain situations. What does love feel like for your pet? What does love feel like for your child? What does love feel like for someone that you broke up with and you still sort of feel this unrequited experience? What does love feel like for the first person you ever liked in high school, or your first love? Or like there's so much nuance. So energy is something that to this point, we haven't been able to fully, this is where my communications degree feels like it, signified, signifier. Like if I say tree, you might be thinking evergreen. I might be thinking apple tree. Somebody else might be thinking palm tree. So without further detailing, there's a lot of area that could be misinterpreted, but there's also a lot of area where we can connect on. And I think the next leap is clairvoyance, claircognizance, telepathy as a general normal experience for people. We have the capacity. It's the next sensory function that we are developing. We are currently developing it. Many people have already gone ahead and have developed it. We all have the capacity to unlock this. And generally, if you're interested in it, then that's your cue. It's your cue to go start studying it, right? If you have no interest in it, it's annoying to you, you don't care about it, then I get it, not for you. So, okay, what I want to say is energy doesn't lie. It's really hard to fake energy. So that's why an energy is a currency. It's like something we share, it's something we use, it's something we create with, it's something we read, it's something we tune into. So energy is like this etheric quality, and it can be such a broad term. And then there are specific things we can be talking about, like electrical energy, magnetic energy. Like it's a huge field, and it's in 20 years, I'm sure the literature, the research, already there's tons of research in the traditional way we see energy or in the metaphysical ways we see energy, but even Kirlian photography or reading, like we're going to be more and more advanced and adept at understanding, reading, teaching, discussing, seeing energy. And at some point, I just believe we'll be sort of transparent. We can already read stuff in people's energy fields. We can already read what's going on. You could watch a couple in a restaurant and watch them having a discussion, and you could be reading the emotional experience they're having by just witnessing and observing. You can tell when they're in a fight. You can tell when they're avoiding each other. You can tell when they're in love. You can tell when they're distracted. And it's not just the body movements, although yes, the energy gets manifested. So whatever energy we're experiencing, we could really do our best to lock it up and not show it, but people can feel it. And then the energy manifests through your facial expressions, your tone of voice, the way you're acting, the things you're choosing to say, your frame of mind, and what you notice. Like that's huge. I think that people are just finally coming to the awareness of what you choose to talk about, how you choose to introduce yourself, the way you choose to interact, the topics you find enjoyable tell a lot about your perspective on the world, how your mind works, what your preferences are. Without, it gives away so much. We're getting more adept. All these years of psychology, all these general arts grad students who had to take psychology 101, all of this TikTok and Instagram, psychological, holistic psychology, all of this information being shared is becoming standard knowledge to the point where people are understanding thoughts, belief systems, how the mind works, mental health. All of this awareness is creating a level of understanding in the general population so that it's workable. It's that we can interact at this level. People know about it. And it's fantastic because we're more aware of how our brain works, how our brain functions. Like, tell me who doesn't know about triggers now? And think back 20 years. Like, was that a word that was commonplace? Was that a word that was used? Think about trauma. Like, it's a fantastic time to be alive because we are in the biggest shift from how we understand psychosocial experiences. And this is why I love alchemy so much, because as a collective, I believe we're alchemizing the traumas and horrors of what we used to get behind out of blind faith, patriotism, advertising, like all of the things that we're sort of coming awake to. Like, what? I never chose this. I didn't want this. I wouldn't have voted for this. I wouldn't have engaged in this. I don't like this. I didn't say I wanted to do this with the rest of my life. Wait a minute. Who said it had to be like that? As a collective, we're questioning more and more. And we had to have waves of like feminism and waves of environmentalism and waves of, people who are willing to stand up for change to get us here. But I think we're all more aware, and I think we're all more active in this, and we're all investigating why we believe what we believe. And that's fantastic because we're alchemizing the energies of the old and creating the new. And as I said last episode, we're entering the age of Aquarius. Pluto has now entered Aquarius. Pluto is the planet of transformation, the underworld, like huge evolutionary change. It's here. We're doing it. We're living it. We're walking it out. The next generation is requiring it of us at a faster pace. Think about just what the internet has done for people, the power of people, individual voices, individual creators, TikTok, YouTube. We are at this point of like the people get to produce and the people get to choose and the people get to tune in and the people get to speak. And power dynamics are shifting and people are becoming more individualized, yet still feeling like they belong to a collective. And we're at a fantastic moment. As I said last episode, I was writing a bio for my Podia platform where I'm hosting my courses. And I'm like thinking about what to put in this bio. And I'm like, well, what is it that I see? And what is it that I'm hopeful about? And what is it that I'm interested in? And I think what's so incredible is that there's been, thankfully, from the work we've done for equality and the work we've done for women's rights and the work we've done in LGBTQ plus and in diversification and, different experiences and different bodies and different abilities and different experiences of mental, mental functioning, or all of the expressions and all of the individuality is like allowing for the allness, which is very feminine. The transformation and rebirthing is very feminine. And we all can agree that we've been living in quite a patriarchal time for a very long time. And I think there have been great advancements that have come from this. So it's not a critique per se, but the feminine qualities can only be suppressed for so long. They have to do their job, and their job is decomposing what is dying. That's what the feminine does. That's what the womb space can do. It can shed, it can release, it can rebirth. And so I have this course called Balanced Masculine, and I'm in the process of finishing the feminine counterpart to it. And I'm just have such a deep reverence for the way the feminine moves, for the way feminine energetics help create and rebirth, and how the all is contained in the feminine, and how the feminine is going to help us rebirth and reconstruct the future societies. It's going to be braided in and infused within what we're experiencing. And so in terms of energy, we need feminine energy. The feminine energy is the flow, it's the evolution, it's the creation, it's the energy, the impulse, the nurturance. This is what we need. The healing, the deep, deep healing, the processing of what doesn't make sense to the mind and what the mind can no longer fix, that the body has to take over and transmute, that the collective has to purge and release and see, and then make new choices, and make new choices from the heart, from a holistic place. This is the precipice we're at. And so in terms of energies, I'm so excited that the next growth point, the next chapter, the next segment of time feels like the resurgence of the feminine. It feels like a feminine renaissance. It feels like a feminine spiritual renaissance, where spirituality is not influenced by the religious dogma that was sort of masculine structured. It's like a return to the feminine mystic who intuitively knows how to rebirth, who intuitively knows how to become rich soil that decomposes, that knows the process of decomposition, that intuitively alchemizes the old for the new. And it's beautiful. It's exciting. It's wonderful. And this is why I love energy so much, because I had to identify this in my own self. I had to identify we have masculine and feminine in us. And if you listen to season 2, you would have gone through those episodes. And so I had to really let the masculine inside me support the feminine, and let the feminine really take the lead in terms of feeling like I was okay to let the alchemical process take over and have a personal rebirth and transformation and allow the evolution to occur. And through that whole process, I learned more and more about energetics and energetic intelligence. And I'd already been like in my past career in HR, I'd already been studying like Myers-Briggs and emotional intelligence quotient, EQI. So I understood emotional intelligence. I understood these personal development tools. And then when I worked at a college, I got to teach concepts in gender, and I really kept feeling like, oh, I want to talk about gendered experience of energy and the law of gender and the sort of metaphysical qualities and the esoteric. It was deeply the esoteric things I really wanted to jump into. And that's when it kind of hit me that I wanted to spend more time studying this, and I wanted to do this on my own, and I wanted to produce a body of work through mystical transformation, through my own experience. I wanted to self lead, become spiritually sovereign, lead myself through my own homecoming, my own rebirth, my own reintegrating my power, and become really, really solid in who I am. And so that whole process not only ushered me through masculine and feminine energetics, the understanding of energetics in general, how energy and emotions are connected, how energetic intelligence and emotional intelligence are similar. And it took me through this sort of self-study and also my own syllabus, like locating my own books through synchronicity, through reference, through taking courses, and just leading myself on this whole journey, and like the curriculum that would come up spontaneously in the books that I would read, it was just fantastic. It's been fantastic. It's been incredible. And I'm excited to do it, perhaps not at the depths. I think I've gone through the huge rebirth, and who knows, maybe I get another one around 60 years old. I don't know. But the main awakening from like the programmed state that happens when we're like around 7 in our childhood, in the inner child healing, like dark night of the soul. I've gone through that, come out the other side. So any alchemy that takes place after this, I don't imagine it's going to be like the big overhaul, because now I'm fairly conscious of my belief systems, of how they get created and how to dissolve them. And it's not unknown anymore. I've done the cycles. I've come to understand the cycles. I've become intuitive about the cycles. And there's not this big unknown anymore. Like there's still lots that is unknown, yes. But the cycle of transformation and the energetic experience is not unknown anymore. So, as I said, energy doesn't lie. And I think soon we'll be able to it'll feel like the sense of smell. Like we'll smell it, we'll sense it out. When you know someone really well, and you hear them on the phone, you hear their voice, or you see them in person, and you just know something's not right. You know something's up. Or you think about someone, and you get this impulse, and you can feel what they're feeling. It's like a telepathic connection. It's that for me. It's that clear for me. It is as clear to me as like a sense of smell. And it took a long time to affirm it and not doubt it. And the less I doubted it, and the more I just let it be and let it be shown to me and practice it and worked with it and got to know it, the more it became practiced, the more the sense developed. It's like understanding that we see part of the visible light spectrum, but there's still things going on outside of that light spectrum. And we have like night vision goggles. It allows us to see outside of the normal ability that we would have. It's like that, but it's integrating it. It's already within you. You don't need the external tool. There's no external apparatus you need. It's an innate function within the human being. You have to develop it. You have to get to know it. You have to know what it means, right? It's something you have to practice. And because in each one of it's our body, right? Our body is our instrument. So just like you learn how to be intimate with yourself, it's the same thing. You have to learn how to be intimate with this function. So you learn how it feels to you. And you don't learn how it feels to you through someone else. You learn through you. And it's going to be unique to you, and it's going to feel like you. So it's innately you. And it's a function that were opening up that we didn't realize perhaps we had, or we didn't realize how deep it went, or we didn't realize how robust of a tool and a experience it could be. Because reading energy is an ability. Sensing energy is an ability. Working with energy is an ability and a function. So, as I say, we'll learn to have it feel like a sense, like our sense of smell. We'll be able to like see it. We'll see it as it manifests through people, as it manifests through their face, their tonality, how they speak. But we'll feel it. You know, when you sit beside someone and you feel their energy, you just feel it. Like you can feel it almost like it could make your hair stand up on end on your arm when you're sitting beside someone. You can feel it. You sense it. It hits your field. So you have an energetic field that you're sort of swimming in, like that you're existing within. There's this like little sort of etheric, invisible bubble around you. And when somebody else's energy comes into contact with it, there's a reaction. There's a point of touch reaction, because these are waves. There's no like hard line to keep it out. So you feel somebody's energy through your field. It comes into your field. So part of that experience is your energy is in your field, and then their energy comes into your field. So you know their energy through your field. So whatever's in your field, if you don't know what's in your field, you don't know how it's impacting the way you're interpreting their energy. So reading energy, you also have to get clear on your energy, what your stasis point is, what your varying moods are, what your varying energies are, because they'll influence the way you read somebody else's energy. And for a long time, I would absorb other people's energies, assuming they were mine. I'm a generator. I have an open, enveloping aura. And sometimes I'd take on people's energy to the point where then I'd feel exhausted. I get home and be like, why do I feel stressed? There's nothing, this doesn't make sense for me to feel stressed. This isn't mine. But I didn't know it wasn't mine. It took me a long time to realize it wasn't mine. So I was like a little HEPA filter for other people's energies out there. And I'm sure I was letting mine out wild too. So we notice how energy hits our field, and we notice how it mixes with us and others. And we decide what to do with it, or we decide what to do with ours, or we decide what to do with our focus or our attention. And energy, like picture it like wind moving leaves. Like you don't necessarily see wind, right? Or maybe some people do. I'm not going to limit our experience and what we're capable of interpreting and intuiting. But you know how we see the leaves moving because of the wind. We see wind moving in the grass. We see the wind's effect on the material. Energy is kind of like that. I mean, unless you see auras and then you see colors and then you have more of a third eye visual kind of experience, but we can smell it, and we can smell whether it's like, I like it, I don't like it, yummy, yucky. Or we can smell notes and layers, like I feel this person's content, but I feel also they're ruffled about something in this moment. I feel their confidence, but I also feel they've been stirred up. Like there's nuance. There's like, it's not like drinking something and being like, I like it, yuck, I don't like it. It's like when you start to notice, oh, I notice these notes in it. It's chocolatey, it's woody, it's smoky. It's, we start to be able to take tasting notes from the energy we're sensing. It's like warm and cold water. We can sense it based on our own barometer. What feels cold to me, because I'm going in the ice water all the time, might feel, freezing to somebody else, or our calibration is different than other people's, right? We might expand or contract based on that feeling, that sense, like, oh, this feels warm, it feels nice, I'm expanding towards this thing, versus, oh, I don't like this thing, I'm contracting away from it. We notice it, as I said, in the way it makes us feel, whether it feels good, whether it feels frantic, whether it feels smooth, whether it feels dreamy, whether it feels upbeat. Like think about music. Music is just not like binary, good, bad, like it, don't like it. Music has nuance to it. It helps us with mood. Some music can make us feel a certain way. Some music makes us feel a different way. Upbeat, low key, low tempo, quiet, And even thinking about on the topic of music, this is how I connected. I understood intuition fast when I realized like I would always pick music intuitively. I It was an interesting thing. I'd be like, what do I want to listen to? And then I'd just wait. And like sometimes my mind would jump in and be like, oh, it's this song. And I put that song on. I'm like, it's not hitting the spot. No, that's not it. And then I'd leave some space and I'd wait. And then I'd actually let it form. And then I'd get a verse or I'd get like a na 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 or like something that stood out with the song. And I'd jump and I'd find the song and I'd put it on. And after putting it on, sure enough, full body goosebumps, feeling something, like feeling moved, feeling the energy move through me, and I knew I was on the right path. I knew I was hot on the scent. So carrying that over, that's how I started verifying the intuitive and energetic hits I was getting. So not only did I know what it felt like to intuitively be led or intuitively connect up with the part of me that was attempting to connect with me, but I also knew the various moods or the various feelings of the energy. So if I was particularly low and I wanted to feel upbeat, energized, I would like sync up and get hints at songs. And sure enough, they'd like pack a punch. I knew that if I wanted to feel calm or slow down, like this was key with my kids. Like I have two boys, they'd be in the back seat, like getting at each other, getting annoyed with each other, arguing. And I found like, oh, I'd find Hertz music or like spa music or singing bowls or, Tibetan chimes or different things. And I'd put it on. And honestly, to feel the energy of the car just go vroom, and just collapse into peace. You can't, it's undeniable. It's undeniable. Okay. So this is how to start working with energy and start identifying energy. And you're already doing it. And when you start looking at it that way, you're like, oh, I have already been doing it. I've been doing it. I know what this is. I just maybe haven't been interested in working with it as much or using it as a tool, or I haven't realized that it's so incredibly useful. And so, even as I said, it doesn't lie. So, even when people are trying to, it's like trying to hide the smell of a dead body. You can't really pretend like you're not in a foul mood when you're in a foul mood, and especially to the people who already know you, because they know what your energy is like. They know what your essence is. They know the note you sing, and they know when it's off key. So that's what I find so incredible about energetic intelligence and energetic awareness, is that that's going to help us really interpret and intuit and get really good at smelling something's off. There's a lie about this, something in this. And even if we're not becoming like full telepathic, full clairvoyant, full psychic, where you can spot where the energy's off. At least your intuition will be able to tell you whether it's right or wrong for you to keep you safe. This is why I like human design too. Human design, my particular human design, I am sacral authority. So in any given moment, I'm technically able to get a yes, no from my sacral. Like I expand towards the thing or I contract away from the thing. And that's like when I don't really want to go into the whys and the, get mentally stimulated on something and I just want a quick yes or no. Like this is helpful when you're in a couple and you're attempting to figure out where you want to eat and you don't want to spend 2 hours going over, can we eat here? Can we eat there? Can we go? And I mean, the city I live in, there's not a ton of places to eat. So it's often like, first we narrow down what city we want to drive to get a decent meal. Then we narrow down what, it can be just a whole thing. So having that yes or no, when you get that intuitive hit, yes or no, that can be helpful, because then you don't need to go in, like, for all the people who are looking at their phone with a random number coming off and they have to get the intuitive hit. Do I answer it or not? Because I don't want to answer it and have to talk to somebody about duct cleaning. But if it's an important call, I want to answer it. Those are the intuitive hits that we get from this. So we're going to see it. We're going to see energy. As I said, like wind in the trees, like wind in the leaves. We'll see it on people's faces. We see it in their posture. We're already reading this all the time. And I think what's happening and what has been happening for quite some time is, or all of human experience and existence since we developed these faculties, is that we're intuiting the information and it's going right into subconscious. But when you're aware of something, you're aware of your senses, like when you make the practice of slowing down and really savoring your food and tasting all the flavors. And, if you like that coffee or that glass of wine or whatever your thing is that you like to have, and you pick out the distinct flavors, or you savor that meal where you're like, oh my God, the saffron and the cream and everything together, just like it's a symphony, obviously. When you're at that level of paying attention and being aware, it's like you're conscious of it. You're here for it. You're learning from it. You're connecting in with what you like, what you don't like. You're not just like, and it's not just connecting with what you like, what you don't like. You start to say, okay, well, I thought I didn't like this, but I actually like this flavor in this thing. I thought I didn't like olives, but actually I really like the saltiness of all. Thought I didn't like anchovies. That's a real one. Thought I did not like anchovies. And there's a time and a place for anchovies. So you get to open up your palate. You get to explore the genius and the sensory masterpiece that is the human body, and that is the energetic vehicle that you are, and the capabilities that it has to offer for your safety and for your gratification and enjoyment. So it's fantastic. It's fantastic. I could talk about it all the time. I could talk about it to the ends of the earth. Let me take a breath because I'm getting so excited. I've noticed that when I do these podcasts, I I don't take a breath, partly because I don't. This isn't an ASMR podcast where I'm like, breathe deep breathing into the microphone. So sometimes I'm very conscious of not like blowing your ears out with a huge, I got a fairly reactive microphone. So I want to be aware of it. And sometimes it's that I'm excited. And either way, that combination means that my solar plexus is tight and I haven't taken a breath in like, I don't know how long. So let me just take a breath. Okay. We'll see it. We'll see it in people's faces, in their posture, in their responses, in their pace, in their tone. We'll see it in their eyes. We see it in whether they look tired, whether they look energized, whether they look fresh. We see it. You see it in toddlers because they don't necessarily have the language to tell you what's going on, but you know their energy, you know their moods, you know their cycles. And so we already know this. It's been going into our subconscious. We've been making decisions based on it, maybe unaware that we're making decisions based on it. Maybe we've set up our whole environment so that we don't have to deal with people's moods or people's frustrations. So we have been contorting ourselves. Us people pleasers, I'll tell you that's something that we've been intuiting from a very young age and attempting to, in very benevolent ways, contort the situation to make other people feel better. And then, in somewhat manipulative ways, contorting the situation to make people feel better or get what we want. And then, in some other ways, knowing how to push people over the edge. This is all energetic awareness. We know this, right? But when we get to use it consciously and we get to work with it and pay attention to it and be like, oh, shoot, okay. When you become somatically aware of how it sits in your body and where it stores, when people are like, oh, my gut, I can tell you, I got everything tightened up. My whole body tightened up. I felt chills down the back of my neck. Like, you know what that feels like. Or when somebody, like, my gut felt heavy like a stone. Like, you know what that feels like. You know that. And when you start paying attention to those things, oh my goodness. It's like when you start paying attention to what you put in your body, the food you eat and how it feels. Like when I finally gave into the fact that red peppers give me heartburn. So stop eating them. Stop eating red pepper soup. Stop eating it because you don't like the way you feel when you wake up in the middle of the night with the heartburn. Like, take the information, do something with it. So similar. I don't like certain energetic experiences. I don't like being on TikTok for more than a certain amount of time because it starts to feel like frenetic. I don't like when I'm scrolling through TikTok and it starts to go dark a little bit and some like weird, scary shit comes up and I'm like, oh, no, I'm not into this. Get off, get off. This is my cue to go. Right. I've been on TikTok sometimes where I'm like, what? That's real? What? And I've like gone into these corners. And then afterwards, I'm like, well, no wonder you can't sleep. Your energy is like ranged up. Like it's like your energy is intense, spinning, swirling. You can't even calm yourself down. You're going to have to box breathe for the next like 10 minutes, even if you can get your mind to settle into box breathing. So, all of these things we likely know. And it's going to become more and more prominent, more and more important. What else? Oh, like you can feel it when the TV's on, right? Or when your dog, like I have a dog and sometimes she's gone to the dog babysitter if we've got to go somewhere. And we get home and the dog babysitter doesn't bring her back right away. And we're kind of like, oh, the house feels different with her not here. We had 2 cats and a dog, and one of the cats left us. Like literally left us. Like I think he knew he wasn't doing well and he left us. He just walked away one day and never came back. And it was different. The house felt different. His specific energy, not just because, dogs have an energy, cats have an energy, like species have different energies. But then the individuals in that species have different energies. Obviously, we know this, right? Like, obviously, just like every human has a different energy. But it was interesting when he was gone because you could feel his energy, his specific taste, his specific essence was gone. So, what else? Oh, like the energy. This is my favorite energy that I don't, when my kids are excited to see me, but specifically when my babies were in daycare and I'd go pick them up when they're toddlers from daycare, and they would like go to the little baby gate at the doorway and put their arms up in the air and they'd say mom, and I would pick them. Oh my god, I could cry. I could have cried every single time I picked them up. Every single time I was probably already crying. Every single time I left them I was crying. But like just that feeling, that sweetness of them just like so happy to see you, like to see their whole face, everything light up because you and them and what you have together. That energy, bottle it. Bottle it. I want it because my kids are teenagers now, and it's not enough to see the pictures. So energy can't be faked easily. It always has tells. And this is because it's layered, because it's like you have to, this is why, fake it till you make it. Yes. Okay. I understand that that's a phrase people say, and I understand the sentiment behind the phrase, but like, it's the difference between embodying something and trying to appear in a certain way. Right. So like when you've really embodied something, one, you can be that in any situation. It's like it's become part of the identity. It's not just the words you say. It's part of the experience. It's a deeply intertwined, integrated thing versus I'm just going to talk like it right now. I'm just going to say like it right now. I'm going to talk like I have a handle on this, but there's something in the energy that doesn't feel backed up. It doesn't feel robust. It doesn't feel true. It doesn't feel like the walk is the talk. And that's what we notice. So we notice when somebody's pretending. We notice that when you ask them a question and you could see on their face, you read the body. Sometimes like I'll ask my kids a certain question just to see how they respond to the question, like not necessarily the words they say, but just to see their face right before they answer it. Like that's the stuff. That's the good stuff. So here's some other things. Like you can use someone else's belief to like help you calibrate to an energy. You can use somebody else's inspiration, but that only takes you so far because you have to find it within yourself. So it's like, okay, when I was looking at belief systems and I was feeling like kind of, well, what do you believe? What's the highest thing to believe? What's the best thing to believe? What's the thing that's going to be the most expansive for me? What do I like? I had done things as a means to an end so much that in some areas of my life, I didn't know what I actually wanted. And I thought what I wanted, I wasn't so clear on it. Like I thought I wanted certain things. And then I realized, oh, I don't actually want that. So sometimes you can dip into the energy of something and then feel into it and sit with it for a couple minutes and be like, oh, I actually don't want that. If you're choosing between two options, you kind of intuit it. Again, human design, my sense is touch. So I touch things, even like to make the decision, to get the thing, to know. I send energy through my touch. I touch to calm. I touch to heal. I touch to intuit information. My husband laughs because when we go shopping, I'm touching the same item of clothing, but in different colors. And he's like, touching colors. He makes fun that like I'm just touching colors. I'm like, no, I just like that's how I know which one. Like I get a yes or a no. And so I think when we start to understand what we like and what we don't like, bringing the energies in and feeling them, practicing with them, help us feel into something before actually fully jumping into it. But that's also how we calibrate to things. That's also how we get used to things. It's like the pre-rehearsal of something, hypnosis and like pre-rehearsal of a game with pro athletes right now is huge. Like some sessions, athletes pay $500 to sit with a hypnotist to pre feel the win of their impending game so that as they go into the game, they're feeling more confident. They feel like it's in the bag. They've already rehearsed it. It's a dry run. Joe Dispenza talks a lot about this. If you're interested in that, look into his stuff. There's like that anticipatory win experience that you can create, and you can do it with anything. There's books by like Neville Goddard, different esoteric writers, Wallace Wattles, like talking about feeling is believing. You have to feel it, bring the feeling in, sit with the feeling. When you don't have access, sit with the feeling. There's something that my husband was telling me he read that Drake did. He would like go and drive Rolls Royces so he could get the feeling of it, or like, feeling into the thing you want, pre-anticipating your vacation, feeling the sun on your skin. Like these are all really great practices. This is our intuition, our energetic intelligence, our feeling faculties connected with our inner insight, our vision to create an experience, to prime for an experience. And so as I was saying, I was building my beliefs. I didn't fully know what I wanted, but when I'd listen to certain teachers, I'd be like, oh, I feel so expanded listening to that. Oh, I feel expanded listening to their belief about what's possible. Oh, I'm like getting more into my human design, my gene keys. I hold the key of aspiration. Like I can't help it. I aspire for things. I want bigger, better. I want to be climbing. I want to be ascending. And I say ascending in like, yeah, a spiritual sense, but I also say ascending in like moving upward spiral, like always improving, always enjoying the forward motion, not like a rise and grind ascending, not like a forward motion because I'm running away from the past ascending, but it's the energy of like evolution is the backdrop. Evolution is already happening. The river's already flowing to better and better and better. And that's what I enjoy swimming in. And I take comfort in the fact that change is always constant. And I take comfort in the fact that I know that I have the ability to alchemize the best situation for myself. So even shitty situations are the best situations when I get the learning, when I get to know myself more, when I get to build my resilience, when I get to create shit from gold. Or sorry, when I get to create gold from shit, when I get to create better situations from what I'm presented, from what I have, and even not even judging the shit, like when I get to take the raw materials and create something magnificent, when I get to create the art, when I get to live my life like it's a masterpiece, when I get to look at my life as a living piece of art, like that tickles my fancy. I love that. That's where I want to be. That's my inspiration piece. So knowing that that's my guidepost, I ask for that. I look for that. I hold that feeling similar to the song. I want to feel this. Okay. So like then I'm presented options in my real time. Like either an idea comes into my head to do this or that. I can do it this way or I can do it that way. What do I want? And I keep aligning with those values, those things. Like, I want it to feel like this. I want it to feel like expansive. I want it to feel good. I want it to feel enjoyable. And as much as I can, I just keep aligning with that. And that's the energy I keep calibrating to. And that's what shows up. And whatever shows up, I continue to keep myself centered in that awareness of, well, this is what I want. And for a while, I borrowed other people's as inspiration, but it doesn't really take effect until you make it your own. So you can borrow other people's all you want, but you really do. You can watch someone else. You can, like Amanda Francis, amazing. I love her, Money Queen. When I hear her speak about what is for her, I love it. And I'm going to talk about this in another episode because she's like, talks about how, well, this is just how I experience it and this is just how I feel. She's very permissive because it feels like she would never overstep the boundary of trying to tell you how something is or how it should be. She's really just there to expand you. And I think that's phenomenal. And that's what I'm into. And I want to expand people. And I do. And I find myself doing that in conversations, and not silver lining in a crass way, but like silver lining and like igniting and having people get excited and whipped up. I love doing that. I love talking with people, noticing what's great about them. I can see the potential in anybody. They give me a couple sentences of like something and I'm like, ooh, I see what you want. I see that you can have whatever you want. So like, how do we close that gap? And I'm naturally doing that in everyday conversations, in work with clients, in work with people. I'm naturally doing that. I want to close the gap between you and your aspiration. And so using other people's inspiration is incredible, but it has to be calibrated to you. Like it has to be meaningful to you. You have to feel the feeling. Somebody could tell you all the live long day, like, it's nice being happy. You can be happy, but until you calibrate, and this was my biggest lesson, as I mentioned last episode, I had to calibrate the belief and then the embodying and the practice of being happy every day before it became my reality. But I had to first wrestle with whether it was even realistic. So I had to make it a belief, an actual belief. And I had to have faith in the belief, and I had to keep working with it. I had to work with the feeling. Even when I didn't feel it, I had to keep coming back to it and returning to it and priming myself to feel it and working through the days that I didn't feel it and working through the days that I didn't believe it was even possible, and keep going and reigniting that aspiration in me that's always been there, that's always been pushing me towards this level of living. So using other people's belief systems, using other people's energy, high vibe, level of expansion, belief systems, limitlessness is incredible. It's inspiration, and it can be very inspirational. But I will say, I was watching someone on TikTok recently, and I was like, oh my God, I love this. I love their style. I love their vibe. I love what they've got going on. I love the products. And I stayed in somebody else's energy beyond probably the amount I should have, because I tipped over into feeling like a bit of a lack spiral, like, because this person is like just turning 30. And part of me is like, oh gosh, like things are getting too late. Like, why didn't I come to this in my 20s and 30s? Oh goodness. And like, that didn't feel good. And so I know better. I know better than to spend too much time in those areas and let my mind feast on somebody else's experience and drop into comparison. And not comparison of like, this person's better than me, but just more like, oh goodness, they've achieved this sooner than me. I wish I knew that at their age. Good. Fine. That's okay to recognize. That's okay to whatever. But do not stay there. Don't stay in that energy. Don't feed yourself that energy. And know yourself enough. Know how to manage your inputs. Know how to determine. Like, I used to watch stuff and didn't realize till like hours in that it was making me feel yucky, or that it was making me feel lack, or that it was making me feel triggered, or even like just certain things on the TV in the background, like the energy of it was just like wild. And if you've got like a reality show where there's a lot of yelling and intensity and fighting, and like at a certain point you're like, I'm fucking exhausted. How did I get so exhausted? Oh, it's because I've had Real Housewives on for the last like whatever in the background. I've been trying to fall asleep. How the hell could I fall asleep to this? This is like, no. And I mean, for some people, they love it. It's their thing, whatever. I just found that I'm sensitive. Like the fighting over a dinner table was getting intense and I wasn't actually falling asleep. So, becoming acutely aware of the energy you ingest, just like the food you ingest, like it's a real thing. You like paying attention to the energy you ingest and the food you ingest, it's similar. Like it's fuel. So, um yeah, I think this is tipping over into the conversation, which I'll record another episode that's talking about energy calibration. Like now that you know and you've identified, energy, then what? Then what? So you can read energy. Sure. You can see the nuance with energy. Sure. As I explained last episode, my breath work and my journaling lets me transmute energy, take it from dense to light, take it from confused to clear, take it from spinning so fast to calm and peaceful, take myself from, maybe lethargic up to fast pace, up to like, woo, excited, taking energy that feels anxious and spinning it into excitement. I can handle this. I'm resilient. This is fun. Actually, this is going to be really fun. Actually, I'm a lot bigger than this energy, so I can handle this energy. This energy isn't going to go over me like a wave and I'm going to feel like I've got sucked up in the undertow. Like working with energy in those ways becomes phenomenal. Transmuting energy, shifting energy, spiraling energy, compounding energy. That's what it feels like when I'm writing my journal and I'm on a roll and I'm grateful and I'm listing and my list is getting bigger and bigger. And with everything, I'm literally feeling it. I'm not just like writing it and yeah, I'm grateful to be here and I'm grateful for this. That like it's like I'm the emotions are getting thicker, the emotions are getting bigger, and I feel this building, like an orgasm building. So and again, with that metaphor, that's how we can work with energy. That's building energy. An orgasm is building energy and having a physical manifestation after that building of energy. That's what we can do with energy when we start to learn how to use it and work with it. And there's all kinds of things on using energy: tantra, using sex magic, using energy, using sexual energy to manifest. It's out there. It's fantastic. It's incredible what times we live in. So then there's calibrating energy, like seeing something you like and becoming an energetic match, calibrating your energy to feel the same way as that thing. Ooh, I see that out there. I want to mirror that. What would it feel like? That's when people say, like, feel what money feels like. Feel into the energy of money or feel into the energy of abundance. I watch this other person, they do these great meditations where they're like, feel the energy of happiness. What would happen if you held 10 times more happiness? What does that feel like in your body to hold 10 times more happiness? What about 50? What about 100? They do that with like, what would it feel like if you had an audience of like somebody trying to grow their social media presence, an audience of this? What if it was 5,000? What if it was 10,000? What if it was 100,000? What if it was 1,000,000? And you go through each of them and feel your body react. Your body's there. It wants to communicate with you. If you can get yourself into a quiet spot where you can hear it and feel it, you can test. You go through that and you're like, oh God, the thought of like 10,000 people, followers, makes me feel like freaked out. Okay, you've got some information here. So maybe every night you sort of work with that same meditation again, expanding and calibrating your energy to bigger and bigger things. And so at times in the beginning, I was like, it would be tricky to tune into energy. Like sometimes I've done these exercises and I'm like, I can't feel it. What I will say, it's like when you're trying to listen to a conversation in another room and you feel like move your hair out of your ear and lean in and really focus your ear in the direction of what you're hearing. It's like that. You've got to clear a space and you got to wait. You got to hold it loosely. And those are some of my musings on energy. It's something I love to talk about. It's something that I weave into everything I do, all of my coursework, my one-on-ones, the way I teach my kids. I believe it is massively a part of our future. And yeah, there you have it. I'm just going to end it like that. You can catch me on Femist on Instagram. You can find my courses at Podia, and I'll put some links to that eventually. Listen to season 1 or 2. Check out season 1 and 2 of my podcast for more background on my story, how I felt when I first started entering this deeper transformation and recognizing the cycles of this actually being a transformation, even though I'd been through several rounds of it before, including like role change from non-mom to mom, from married woman to conscious uncoupling, divorcee, separation, and becoming married again. So, all of those aspects of my journey are in season 1 and 2, and then a little more detail on energetics, masculine and feminine energetics, more, diary of transformation, and yeah, on season 2. So if you're interested, have a look see back there. I can tell you they're longer than these ones, and I put a lot of heart into them. If you have any questions, want to connect, want to work with me, find me at Femist on Instagram, at FEMYMMYST, Femist. This is Feminine Mystic Alchemist, on Instagram. Thank you very much. I appreciate you listening, and have a fantastic day.